Welcome to the Aviation Insurance Podcast, the podcast that helps aircraft owners and aviation businesses learn and understand the complex world of aviation insurance and risk management. From the basic principles of aviation insurance to risk management techniques and updates on the aviation insurance market, the Aviation Insurance Podcast is your guide to traverse the world of aviation insurance. Now, here's your host, Tim Bonnell.
Well, welcome back to the Aviation Insurance Podcast. And today I'm excited to bring a little bit different topic to you, one that is very important to all aviation businesses, whether that's insurance, service, aircraft, or flying operations, and that's on aviation marketing. So today I've invited Paula Williams to join us and share with us her expertise and have a conversation about marketing to aviation business. So Paula is the president and co-founder with her husband, John, of ABCI, which is a marketing company dedicated to helping aviation companies specifically sell more of their products and services. Besides full-service marketing consulting for aviation companies such as flight schools, FBOs, MROs, brokers, charter operators, software companies, service organizations like insurance agencies, and they're consultants in the aviation industry that they serve. She's the creator and facilitator of some really good courses, the aviation sales professional courses and the aviation marketing lab, which I find very innovative for this space myself personally. Paula originally comes from the finance industry, is dedicated to bringing advanced sales and marketing technologies and techniques to the aviation sector, which I know from personal experience, both in aviation in general, but certainly in aviation insurance, often lag behind other industries, but shouldn't. So that's why we're going to have a discussion today on that. So Paula, welcome to the podcast.
Well, thank you for having me. I'm glad we're having this conversation. I know we've had a lot of fun conversations working together. And so it's nice to bring that to other people maybe.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, I think, it's important and just getting into the question number one that I have for you, kind of just get right to the heart of it is, you, as I emphasized in your bio, you specialize in marketing and all the things that go with that, right? For
Right.
Aviation companies, specifically the aviation sector. We just listed a number of your customer types. So how is marketing to aviation consumers unique or different than marketing to other types of products and services?
Well, I'd have to say that anyone who's taken a marketing class has probably studied retail marketing, which is where they're selling, the case studies that they always use are Coca-Cola and Ford, and Apple. Those are the examples that everybody uses in their university classes about marketing products. And they assume that they are marketing to end consumers and they're marketing a large volume. And so they have all this data and they have all of this experience and years of data that they can call upon. In the aviation industry, our numbers are so small. My husband would call that statistically insignificant. So it's really hard to draw those inferences. And so we have to make a lot better decisions with less information, I think, than retail marketing. And also we are marketing to a very specific demographic, people who are smarter, people who are no offense to your demographic, male, 40, college educated, possibly former military. There are some demographic markers that we're looking for that are a little bit different than the average consumer. So we need to take things up a notch. We need to acknowledge that our customers are smarter than the average bear and go from there.
Yeah, and I suppose not to mention all the jargon and especially information that goes into as within any industry, but certainly it is certainly a unique audience and definitely has to be tailored in a certain way. And then just understanding the lingo and the jargon obviously is a big deal because you want to connect with your target audience. So when I got into the business and everyone's there's people who've been in business much longer than I have and people who are just getting into, marketing, business, whatever it is. But we did a lot of mailers, postcards, mailing brochures, or, those type of things. And we were using fax machines and whatnot. Email was fairly new. And, I remember, hearing about the advent of social media and, as time went on, getting into some social media marketing, getting into, I call them Google ads, sponsored web matches, all that type of thing. So there's just so much going on. Now you've got videos, influencers, I mean, it's a world, there's so much more going on in marketing that people have to be aware of. So that just, the question I'm always asking is, what forms of marketing, so these venues or so on and so forth, are key for aviation companies to focus on or consider as we, look at today and into 2024.
Right. Well, I think, the best thing to use is what is currently working for you, but you also want to be testing at least one channel. I think one new channel per year is a pretty good rate. So, if fax machines are still working for you, there's no reason to stop doing that. I know there are some parts manufacturers and others that still get a lot of their customers via fax broadcasts. They're still doing that. And if it's still working for them, there is no reason to stop doing that, because if anything, the noise has died down on some of those channels. So, if they're working, by all means, continue doing what's working for you. But it won't work forever. So there will be a point at which that falls off and becomes less effective. It may not be this year, it may not be next year, but at some point it will. So you want to be testing new channels. And we do recommend, that people have a good 3 channels that they're using for prospecting. Sometimes more depending on the size of the company and your appetite for new technology and other things, but always be testing at least one. 2 good ones to test for 2024, LinkedIn and YouTube. Those have been our best performers for the last 2 years, and I think are doing really, really well with this demographic. So those are 2 to look into if you are looking for something new to test, but by all means, don't stop doing what's working.
Yeah. I mean, and to your point, even about less noise, I mean, I think everyone went away from, the mailers and those type of things because it got so crowded. Everyone just threw away all the junk mail anymore. Like you said, everyone's gone digital. And so that space is cleared up a little bit, like you said, less noise. So if that works, keep going forward. Or if you want to test a new channel, going back to old school ways may not be the bad way to do it. And this really piggybacks the previous question. So the answer could be, partially shared, but we're recording this, as we're getting in the transition to the new year in 2024. And so this is the time of year a lot of companies are in the process of looking at their marketing plans, thinking what they're going to do differently in 2024. So that in mind, what steps should aviation companies be taking right now to market to their target customers or new market segments even in the new year?
Right. We had talked about LinkedIn and YouTube, and there's really 2 reasons for those being the ones that we recommend if you want to try something new. LinkedIn, because it has such great targeting. You can do some really nice filtered searches and other things. You can put together a pretty nice marketing, really nice prospecting plan using LinkedIn, where you have a set of actions that you take every Friday. As an example, we like to call it Follow Friday is kind of one of the habits we like to establish with our folks, where you follow maybe 20 new people who fit your specific demographics. You maybe direct message 2 of them that you've done some research on, and you follow up, with the ones that you've heard back from. So, putting together a plan like that where it's interactive, using LinkedIn, I think is a really great method. Another one, YouTube, as you do with your podcast. I'm sure, as we have a podcast as well, as one of our primary marketing or primary prospecting activities, people feel like they know you. People walk up to you, I'm sure, at NBAA, I actually saw this. People walk up to you and they feel like they know who you are. And they have a comfort level with you because they've already kind of established a relationship. It may be one-sided, but at least that's a beginning of trust and understanding and other things, so that you don't waste a lot of time at the beginning of the relationship. You can get started right away with their problems because they already know who you are, and then you can focus on them and take it to the next step.
Yeah, I know that, just as you said, the YouTube thing is something that, we've invested time and energy in more this year, and it's something you've done. And obviously your help has been a part of that. Let's say someone says, I just don't have the time and energy to produce a podcast. How else can I, use YouTube that doesn't, seem so much like so much work and effort? Are there simpler, easier ways to utilize that?
Right. Well, it could be as simple as one video or one webinar that is recorded. Anything that you do, a conversation where you have a customer come in and do a case study, any of those things. And, the big resistance to that is, I don't want to be on camera. And I will tell you, I think probably 95% of our clients don't particularly care for the way they look or sound on video. And that's just a human nature kind of a situation. But it is so much more important. Your message is so much more important than, maybe a stray hair in your left eyebrow or, whatever it is that you're worried about. So you just have to kind of get over yourself and get out there and overcome that uneasiness. And the more you do it, the better you'll get at it, the better you'll feel about it, the more you'll see it working. And I think you'll be encouraged to continue. So just do one. Even your most commonly asked question from a customer, if your salespeople don't have to keep repeating the same information over and over again, think about how effective that could be if you can just get that information out to more than one person at a time. So very effective.
Well, and, obviously people are like, well, we don't have all the equipment. I mean, anymore, if you have a brand new iPhone or similar device, you can record pretty strong quality, at least for YouTube. And I think the other thing, and you might share more, but they don't have to be long length videos either, right? They certainly could, but more and more people are watching what they call YouTube Shorts.
Mm-hmm. 1 minute videos, exactly. And you can record those with your phone. I guess everybody has a much better camera these days than any of us had 5 years ago. The downside of that is sound. The hard part is sound. And you can see, Tim, you've got an even better setup than I do. I've been meaning to get a boom and, do all those things. But you start where you are. You don't wait until you have all the perfect equipment to get started. So, there's some things you can do to get good sound. And I'm sure you've probably shared that information with other folks, and I do all the time as well. Or you can use someone that has a studio. Like if you're an ABCI client, you can come and use our studio. We'll stick your logo on the wall, and all you have to do is show up and be prepared, and we'll provide all the equipment and everything for you.
That's right. Yeah, there is plenty of equipment you can use with your iPhone as a starter. You and I were actually doing this at NBAA, where we had some different tripod, gimbal holder type things, and some professional microphones that connected to our phones, and it produces a quality. So it's really, if there's an obstacle to doing it, it's really in our own mind. It's, with the technology today, there's cost effective, easy ways to do it. Having a simple, message that's shared, or, some sort of value creation piece. Here's information. You just mentioned several, but here's a key thing you'd like to know, in your industry or with your aircraft or your situation. It's easy to do. And certainly there's a lot going on with YouTube. I've learned a lot. I didn't know they were doing shorts, and these, all the different things it's doing. But the other thing, and you would share this as well, so I'm just gonna to do it for you, is that content can also then be taken and used on LinkedIn or the other sites. So it can be repurposed. Is not just for YouTube. So you want to target obviously where it's going to go, but that information can be used to other things. Just like we repurpose the podcast for website information, for social media posts as well. And so knowing, if we're going to invest in content creation, that it can be used in multiple spaces with some strategy. So what, moving on to another question, because I'm sure you could talk on that for quite a while. What are some key mistakes or omissions you see many aviation businesses make in their marketing programs?
Right. Well, and, we've touched on a couple of them here, basically focusing on equipment or focusing on channel is a whole lot less important than the content. So, what are the, if you have a really strong passion for helping your customers overcome a problem, and I know you do, Tim, your podcast has great content because you're thinking about, what do my customers or future customers want to or need to know that maybe they don't know the questions to ask. So you get to ask those for them. And, so focusing on the content, thinking like a customer, putting yourself in the customer's perspective. I see so many websites in the aviation industry that are about the company. We've been in business for 47 years and da-da-da-da-da. Nobody cares. They only care if you can solve their problem. So your marketing should be about your customers and about what your customers want and need, and how you can help better solve their problems and give them a better life, better job, better situation with less stress, and whatever it is that is the problem that you solve. That's really what you should be focusing on. All of the tools, all of the toys, all of the equipment, all of that is ancillary and can be solved, or don't even have to be perfect. I've seen some really, really amazing marketing done by people with all the wrong stuff, doing it all the wrong way, according to the textbook, but it works really well for them because they're so focused and so passionate about their customer.
Yeah, I think that's key. And we've talked about, some specific cases, even friendly competitors of mine who it's, you read they say they're customer focused, but every piece of information they put out is about them.
Right.
We've been doing this so long. We do this. This is who, and it doesn't connect. It's not providing any information. And so, like, okay, you said that, but I don't see anything else. And so, in your marketing lab and in your services, you look at different books, and one I thought was very interesting was called Prove It, and so when you say marketing, we've been in the business this long, and we highly specialize, and we train, we provide the highest level of service, whatever, just making that comment really doesn't do anything. But, having different, the testimonials, things like, what we're doing with the podcasts and, it really brings an evidence, proves the expertise and these things that you're talking about. And so I think that's that was one of the, the books I hadn't been aware of that I really appreciated you bringing to my attention, just for that. Everyone knows that a testimonial is better than our own word, but just really looking beyond just a testimonial into using these other tools today to really help position yourself and show that, your level of expertise isn't just fluff on a graphic. So I think that is huge, is making sure it is customer focused. I appreciate you sharing that. And, we talked about the podcast. I mean, what other ideas, just put you on the spot? I think it was interesting. You talked about, like a sales message, a 1-minute sales message or something. What other just quick, value creation pieces, like content, like what would you, if you're talking to a customer, what's just 2 or 3 cues of, like, think about this or this, as just being able to provide value to their customer?
Absolutely. So I think, part of that thinking like a customer and things like that, we get so used to thinking as ourselves. Because we are on this side of the desk, and that is where we are permanently. The book club, I think part of the reason for that is that it kind of forces us to think from a different perspective and forces some different ideas into our heads, that are a little bit different. And then also the fact that we talk about them with our other clients and things like that kind of gets us out of our current mindset. And a lot of people think, well, I don't have time to do that because I'm so busy working in my business that I don't have time to work on it. But the 2 most important things in your business are your bank account and your customer and prospect list. So that pipeline of customers and prospects is just as important. And so as much time as you spend thinking about your bank account and, making money, you need to spend that same amount of time thinking about your customers, what's coming next for them. What problems are they going to be running into in 2024? How can I head that off at the pass for them? What do they not know that's going to bite them if I don't tell them? And so, having some channels like this really helps us help our customers and make those connections in ways that are really meaningful to them. And I know you've all seen folks, maybe some of Tim's competitors that are so focused on their own company that all of their marketing channels, like you say, are about them, and they're tooting their own horn all the time. They've never thought from a customer's perspective, and they never jump out from this side of the desk and start thinking that way. So I think, networking, book club, other things like that really kind of help us get out of our own mindset and then get closer to our customers. If you spent too many years doing what you do, you get too good at it, and then you have a hard time talking to other people because you're shortcutting everything, you're jargoning everything, and so on.
Yeah. And I like, just as you were talking and just thinking of the shortening that phrase about, finding out what our customers want. I mean, what are the frequently asked questions,
Yeah.
that your customers repeatedly ask you? It's kind of similar to what you said, but, what do we hear often? And then, you can answer that in the 60-second, 1-minute videos and use that on multiple platforms. So there's just, you listed 4 or 5 different questions that should spark all kinds of content. That was just another one that, that came to my mind. And so people, they're like, I don't have any idea what, how would I create content? What do it has to be perfect. You and I, we were having a conversation before recording this. I said, this podcast, we're not going to be perfect. I talk fast. Sometimes I stumble over my words. I just keep going because I want to be real. And so that some people, just like you say, you have to get over the needing perfection, being perfection, or having to have it at perfection before you start doing anything. And as you and I know and talk about, you have to get in the game and start doing something in order to get better and to, produce at a higher level. And so if you don't ever start, you're never going to get to the point you want to be. And you're never going to get to the point you hope it will be by not starting. So I think that's one key as far as getting out and doing anything video or content creation wise, is the fact that you just have to get over that perfection that so many people have, or the imposter syndrome, like they're not good enough to share their information. Well, let me just be the case study to you that anybody can do it. So
We both are. Yeah, it's real people are just so much more appealing than people who are perfect. And I think, especially in the aviation industry, it's been so glossy and slick and perfect for so long. And a lot of people use, the Madison Avenue marketing companies that will try to make you look perfect. I think that might be doing you a disservice if you look unapproachable. And, people are afraid to walk up to you at a booth in a trade show if they think that you're not perfect. But if you're stumbling over yourself like I do every week, then they feel perfectly comfortable because you're just a person like they are.
Yeah. If anyone follows you on social media or your company, ABCI, they're going to see that you do different. You talked about habits in marketing. And I wanted to, you talked about the Follow Friday and the other one's Wins
Wednesday, right?
And so I have really 2 questions. And so I'll come back to the second if you forget. But, what are some of those other weekly habits that you might recommend to companies in their marketing? You don't have to get into every single one, but, and then the second part of that is, can you talk about a win, without getting specific about a company and their anything in particular, like with the strategy that they did and found successful?
Right. Well, the 3 main things, and, we think that habits are 1,000 times more powerful than any particular heroic efforts. We're not trying to make the Super Bowl commercial because we're not selling retail, number 1. And number 2, good marketing in our market requires a long cycle. So habits are 1,000 times more powerful than home runs. So marketing Monday, Wins Wednesday, Follow Friday are really the 3 habits that we really kind of recommend to our clients. Marketing Monday, spend at least an hour perfecting your marketing system, your funnel, add 1 step to your holding pattern. Maybe look at your prospecting funnel and see where most people are falling out and maybe shore up that wall in your funnel to make sure that you're not leaking everything that you're finding. So Marketing Monday. Wins Wednesday is for networking and also to share some of the best practices, some of the wins that our clients have had with each other. So one that I shared recently was Aerostar. I can tell you this, they're doing Google Ads, as are all flight schools. It's a very competitive market. And they've reduced their cost per conversion and increased their number of clicks at the same time, very, very well over the last year. And so just showing a little graph of that, I think is kind of inspiring. And it also really helps our other clients go, maybe we should be doing Google Ads. And if we do, we should be focusing on the lowest possible cost per conversion. So it's a way of helping one another. And then Follow Friday, we've already talked about. You set up your own pattern, whatever that is, based on your goals. But if you spend an hour on social media, it's such an easy thing to get sucked into scrolling. But if you have a task list, these are the things that I need to do on LinkedIn today or this week. That really helps focus your time and get the job done without wasting a lot of time. And that's one of the primary, I think, objections to social media, is that it's such a time problem, but if you can be disciplined about a task list, that really helps us focus on that.
I think you just said it earlier, but there's plenty of books on habits and growth and things like that. And people always want an overnight change. And, major success stories don't come from a wave of a wand. It comes from the consistent execution of small habits over a period of time. So it's small things done well over a period of time that results in big changes. And so just want to reiterate that point when we're thinking about growth in any way. And so that's where, saying, well, I need to put out the customer fires we got. Well, eventually things change. And if you don't have a marketing system, you're going to be left in the cold. And so investing that time working in the business is what you said earlier. I think that's, that was the E-Myth phrase, having time to work on your business, not just in it, not letting the business run you, but you run your business is so important. And those little habits that you talked about, can be that major change you want with not as much effort as you think, done well over the course of a time consistently.
Yeah.
Just looking at my podcast timer here, I want to just ask one more question as we prepare to close. Is there anything else that I didn't ask that you feel would be key to share, or do you just have any closing thoughts on this topic?
Well, just to follow up on what you said, I think looking at a 90-day time frame is so much more helpful than looking at this week or today. Especially when it comes to marketing, and especially in a long cycle industry like we're in. So I think doing 90-day goals with some good objectives is a really nice way to kind of reward yourself for a job well done, and also to not look at too small of a frame, because, like you say, if you look through the viewfinder at a very small thing, it can look a very different way than if you back up and look at the big picture. So, I just wanted to kind of close with that and say that set some 90-day goals. It's the beginning of the year when we're recording this, so it's a really good time to say, okay, by April 1st, this is where I want to be. And it's a good time to set those resolutions, and, not for a year, maybe. I think 90 days is a good time frame because it's also less daunting than a year, but more meaningful than a day.
Yeah. And if I want to start this new habit or try this new thing, I'm going to do it X number of times per week or per month consistently over that period. Then I can have the opportunity to review and adjust. Whereas I'm going to try it for a year, it's, why did I spend all that time? Or why did we spend more time? I think 90 days, I've always been a big fan of 90-day goals. Even obviously longer term vision and goals would inform those, but, not only does it help you, identify the wins, but it also lets you course correct sooner. So I think that there couldn't be any better advice in marketing or really anything else you do in your business. And so, I just really appreciate your time and your openness and willingness to share, marketing to aviation consumers is different. There are obviously common tools though. And a lot of times aviation businesses are scared to use them. And hopefully they can just take away from today that you don't need to be, that there's simple ways to do that and to have these key habits and goals to implement into your marketing program. So Paula, just thank you again for your time. Thank you for being a great podcast guest today. And just thank you again for sharing your expertise.
Well, thank you for the opportunity. I think anything that helps companies in the aviation industry helps all of us, because we are one interconnected economy, and also just, a lot of family and friends among the industry. So thanks for the opportunity.
Absolutely. I couldn't agree more. Well, that's it for this episode. Join us again next time as we continue navigating the waypoints in aviation insurance and the aviation industry in general. That's all for this time. We'll see you again next time. Enjoy clear skies and unlimited visibility.
Thanks for listening to the Aviation Insurance Podcast. If you found this episode of value, please share it with someone who would benefit from this information. Don't forget to subscribe in your podcast player so you don't miss any new episodes, and to help our show have more impact. This episode is brought to you by Eris Insurance Solutions. your flight plan for navigating the turbulence of aviation insurance. For more information, visit arisinsurance.com. That is www.aerisinsurance.com. Disclaimer. These episodes are for educational purposes only, and due to the changing regulatory and legal nature of the business, some information may change over time. Having a well-educated and experienced aviation insurance broker on your team is an absolute requirement to success in business and for managing your aircraft and aviation business risks.